distribute captured enemy scientific and engineering documents to American industry. In 1950, Congress authorized NTIS to collect our government's scientific, technical, and engineering reports and disseminate it to industry and to the public. From the beginning, Congress intended that the cost of this service be borne by its users rather than the taxpayers, and so NTIS covered its costs by selling these reports to the public. Having a permanent, publicly accessible library of the government's scientific research is a sensible idea, and one that has proven useful to historians, scientists, and researchers since NTIS was created. Today, however, someone seeking a government report usually doesn't have to go to a clearinghouse or even a library to get it. They go to the Internet. Government agencies now make many of their most recent technical reports available on their own websites, and they offer them free of charge. For example, an engineer could find a report called Modular Electronics for Flash Memory Production online by just entering the title into a search engine, and she could download it for free. But if she wants the same report from NTIS, she'll have to pay $30 even for an online copy. For reasons that we'll explore further today, NTIS has also been trying to profit by selling documents that have little, if anything, to do with scientific or technical information, like the Armed Forces Recipe Book, and even my colleague, Dr. Coburn's Waste Book, which actually includes NTIS as a prime example of wasteful government. Both of these documents are, of course, available for free online and easy to find with a quick search. I understand that GAO, who will testify at today's hearing, has recently asked NTIS to stop charging for GAO reports and just provide the link to GAO's website. I would like to make part of the record today a letter from Gene Dodaro, the Comptroller General of the United States, dated July 18, 2014, specifically directing the Secretary of Commerce to provide a link to GAO and to cease and desist from selling GAO reports on their website. The questions these examples raise, of course, are why would anyone buy publications from NTIS when they're available for free elsewhere on the Internet? Partly for this reason, NTIS's own parent, the Department of Commerce, attempted to dismantle NTIS during the Clinton administration. Not surprisingly, NTIS has lost money consistently over the last decade on its repository. In order to remain financially afloat, the agency began offering services to other government agencies, including web hosting, e-training courses, and database management for a price. NTIS does this by using a particular provision of its authorizing statute, which allows the agency to enter into joint ventures to conduct its business. How this works is that a federal agency who wants to obtain web hosting services, for example, will enter into an interagency agreement with NTIS to provide that service. Meanwhile, NTIS enters a joint venture with a private company that actually provides the service to the agency. NTIS collects a fee from the other agency for providing these services, and all parties get to avoid the scrutiny and regulations that apply to most other federal contracts. I have questions about how and why NTIS is providing these services. First, Congress established NTIS to serve as a permanent repository of information, not to duplicate the functions of the General Services Administration or to serve as a contractor or pass-through entity for other government agencies. Second, it appears that the other government agencies are using NTIS's services not because it's offering a better value than the GSA schedules or another competitively awarded contract, but because it allows those agencies to avoid complying with the requirements of the FAR, which is, in fact, the Federal Acquisition Regulations. I recognize that NTIS does serve an important function as a repository and a catalog. There are many reports NTIS holds that aren't available elsewhere. The Internet is not an archive, and search engines can only search for what is currently on the web. And if government agency removes a report from its website or runs out of space on its servers, that research could be more difficult to find without NTIS. Our country's most prestigious research universities have said that the collection and catalog is valuable. In fact, they would be willing to pay in order to maintain its existence. But we've got to make sure these reports are archived and made available to the public in the most effective and efficient way possible. If there are core services like collecting, archiving, disseminating government information that only the government can do, then we may need the government to continue to perform that service. But it's not clear to me whether the service needs to be performed by a separate agency of the Department of Commerce, rather than the Library of Congress, the Government Printing Office, or some combination of the two. If there is a legitimate need for these services, let's consider paying for it directly and more efficiently, rather than using gimmicks like selling web hosting or document management to hide the real cost of providing those services. There are important questions to discuss about NTIS and its future, but they represent even more important questions about our government. Can we as a Congress come together and cut bureaucracy when it is obsolete and duplicative? I'm hopeful, because Dr. Coburn and I have come together, and he is a champion on this topic, relentless, like a dog with a bone. We have come together to co-sponsor bipartisan legislation, the Let Me Google That For You Act, which would begin to address some of these problems at NTIS. I know Dr. Coburn, like me, has hard questions about why we need an NTIS authorized in 1950 in a 2014 world. I thank the witnesses for being here, and I look forward to their testimony. Dr. Coburn.
Well, first of all, I don't think I could have said it any better than you did, and I may be a dog after the bone, but at my age, I'm starting to forget where I left the bone. So I look forward to the witness's testimony and being able to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are honored to have our chairman here today. This is special. Thank you, Senator Carper, for stopping by. Would you like to make any comments for the record before we begin the testimony?
I love bipartisan cooperation. I love it when two of the most thoughtful members of our committee collaborate. I'm happy to be here to witness this, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. We'll begin with you. Let me introduce the witnesses. Valerie Melvin is Director of Information Management and Technology Resource Issues within GAO's Information Technology Team, where she is responsible for work examining IT issues across the federal government. Ms. Melvin has directed reviews of federal IT management and modernization programs at various agencies, including the Departments of Veterans Affairs, Defense, Health and Human Services, Labor, as well as the Social Security Administration and the Office of Personnel Management. Mr. Bruce Borzino is the Director of the National Technical Information Service. Mr. Borzino has 31 years of government service with the United States Army, General Services Administration, and the Department of Commerce. Mr. Borzino is also a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel. Thank you for your service. I would like to thank the witnesses for appearing before us today, and it is the custom of this subcommittee to swear in all witnesses that appear. So if you don't mind, I would ask you to stand. Do you swear the testimony you'll give for the subcommittee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you both. We'll begin with you, Ms. Melvin.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman McCaskill, Ranking Member Senator Coburn, and Chairman Carper. Thank you for inviting me to testify at today's hearing on the National Technical Information Service. At your request, my testimony will summarize a report that we issued in November 2012, which addressed NTIS's operations, the age of and demand trends for reports added to its repository, and the extent to which these reports are readily available from other public sources. In this regard, our work noted that NTIS offers a variety of products and services, as you have noted. Moreover, it charges fees for these products and services and is required by law to be financially self-sustaining to the greatest extent feasible. In fulfillment of its basic statutory function, NTIS has established the researchable repository of over 2.5 million scientific, technical, engineering, and business research reports, which it makes available individually as well as through subscriptions to its reports library. However, our work highlighted the need for attention to NTIS's basic statutory role of collecting and disseminating technical reports and the fee-based model upon which it operates. In particular, we found that from fiscal year 2001 through 2011, costs for NTIS's reports and other products exceeded revenue for 10 of the 11 fiscal years, and the agency was financially sustained during this period by services it offered to other federal agencies that were less directly related to its basic statutory function. More importantly, we estimated that about 74% of the reports added to NTIS's collection from fiscal year 1990 through 2011 were readily available from other public websites. And of these, we estimated that approximately 95% were available for free. These included reports available from the issuing organization's website, the federal government's official web portal, usa.gov, among other sources. Most often, these reports were readily located at another website through the google.com search engine that we used. We concluded that the increasing availability of the technical reports from other public sources, and often at no cost, coupled with the decline in revenue associated with this basic statutory function, called into question the viability and the appropriateness of NTIS's fee-based model for disseminating the reports that it collects. Accordingly, we suggested that Congress consider examining the appropriateness and the viability of this model to determine whether it should be continued, given that many of the reports overlap with similar information available from the issuing organizations or other sources for free. For its part, NTIS acknowledged that the increasing use of the Internet to disseminate information posed a challenge to its mandate as a self-financing repository. However, the Department of Commerce did not indicate whether it had any plans to propose changes to the fee-based model. Nevertheless, Chairwoman McCaskill, the legislation that you, Senator Coburn, and others have recently introduced aimed at streamlining the collection and distribution of government information can provide an important vehicle for reassessing this model. This concludes my oral statement. I would be pleased to respond to any question that you all may have.
Mr. Borzino.
Good afternoon, Chairman McCaskill, Chairman Coburn, Dr. Coburn. Thank you for the invitation. Time. Sorry. Thank you for your invitation to testify today on NTIS mission and the value it provides the federal government and the American public. The NTIS's mission is twofold. One, promoting American innovation and economic growth by serving as the federal government's central means of collecting and widely disseminating scientific, technical, and engineering information to the public and industry. And secondly, by providing innovative information management solutions to assist other federal agencies in managing and disseminating information to their users and constituencies. This mission aligns with the mission of Commerce and the administration's goal of promoting shared services to federal agencies. The National Technical Information Act of 1988 and the American Technology Preeminence Act of 1991 provide NTIS with its unique authorities to serve the public and industry, which ensures permanent public access to federal technical reports. Since federal agencies are not required to make these reports permanently available to the public, that permanent repository function is the responsibility of NTIS and is as critical today in the Internet age as it ever has been. NTIS is a self-sustaining agency, and it relies solely on fees from the provision of products and services, but does not receive an annual appropriation from Congress. NTIS has amassed a collection of 2.8 federal publications covering more than 350 technical and business-related subject areas. These items are perpetually available, and approximately 30,000 new titles are added annually. NTIS is a significant source of federal technical and science information and associated bibliographic metadata for worldwide web search engines. Search engines can more easily find reports and documents that have had the underlying bibliographic metadata coding created by NTIS. The GAO has reported that up to 45% of federal technical reports in any given subject category within the NTIS collection are only findable and available from NTIS. NTIS also ensures public access to the 26% of the reports entered into the NTI collection since 1990 that GAO determined were not available from any of the 4 public sources searched by GAO. NTIS's joint venture authority permits NTIS and its joint venture partners to work directly with a federal client agency to meet specific requirements of the agency. In fiscal year 2013, NTIS provided $64 million in information management services to other federal agencies, and as a federal shared service provider, completed 103 separate service projects for 39 federal agencies and departments. My written testimony enumerates many of them. In fiscal year 2014, federal services revenue is projected to increase to $88 million. NTIS also performs other valuable and unique functions for federal agencies and the public, such as distributing the death master file required by insurance agencies and federal institutions, providing distribution of sensitive DEA-controlled substance data for medical and pharmaceutical service firms, unlimited access to approximately 2.8 million technical reports for libraries, and access to one of the most comprehensive collection of federally funded science and technology documents for the American public. As NTIS moves forward, we will continue to adopt business processes and technology needed to achieve NTIS mission in the most effective and efficient manner, including NTIS is proactively engaged with its advisory board, academia, and industry partners to develop a business model to facilitate free U.S. public access to electronic scientific and technical reports through its library. NTIS is developing this service to allow free and open access to electronic technical reports, associated bibliographic records, other selected research services, and linkage to report data. This new program will be launched in October of 2014. NTIS advises the public of free ways in which to receive a report before processing a request for a technical report. Thank you for this opportunity today, and I am pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Borzino.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to start with, on your website, there is now a banner that says you might be able to get the reports that you're going to get here for free other places. When did that banner go up?
That banner went up last week, ma'am.
After this hearing was announced?
Yes, it went up after this hearing was announced. However, it's part of our program that we've been working on the past 15 months in order to announce the public access National Technical Reports Library.
Well, why is it so small? And why isn't there a large box before you pay to say, have you checked to make sure you can't get this for free?
It's there it's there on our public front page, it's there on our search pages when you go search, and it's there before you go pay.
Well, I look on the pages, for example, on your shipping and fulfillment services page, the movie about how you can buy these services is much, much larger than the advising that you can get this stuff for free. I mean, let me give you one example. You've got the wage determination online, you guys host the wage determinations online.gov site for the Department of Labor.
That's correct.
This site provides federal contracting officers with appropriate Service Contract Act and Davis-Bacon age wage determinations. You're aware the Department of Labor offers that information for free?
They provide it to us to offer to the public.
That you can get it for free directly from them?
I am aware of that, yes. However,
and you charge $4,000 for a single user subscription for that information?
That I'm not sure, ma'am.
Well, you should be. Let me ask, your staff does manual internet searches for agency websites to find reports to download?
Ma'am, I'd like to go back to that previous question. Mm-hmm. We do the WDOL as a service for the GSA's integrated acquisition environment. I'm not aware that we charge any fees associated with that program.
To get a single user subscription to the database, our research shows that you charge $4,000.
That I'm not aware of, ma'am.
Okay. The Government Printing Office disseminates congressional and agency papers to the nation's depository libraries. The Government Printing Office considers your agency to be the largest source of, quote, fugitive reports, end of quote, meaning reports that they never receive and thus can't distribute. Why can't we combine your depository function with the Government Printing Office depository function?
Well, we do provide reports to the Government Printing Office, so I'm surprised that they would make that claim that we don't provide them. We provide them to the Library of Congress.
Why do you both, why do all of you need to exist? Why can't we have one repository? Why do we need three with a chance that something gets missed one place or the other? Why don't we just do it one place? Wouldn't that make more sense? If you were in business, wouldn't you say it should be one place?
We should do it in one place, and we do. We do it at NTIS, and that is the mission that the Congress has been granted NTIS, and it has been doing that since 1950. And we provide the permanent accessibility. We provide associated metadata with all the records so they can be found and searchable by our public search engines through the internet today. We provide the most comprehensive centralized collection, which is available. We provide all these services, and that's why the American public comes to us.
Well, I don't think they'd come to you if they realized how many times you're charging them for things they can get for free. I think it's completely inappropriate that we are having a government agency provide the public with free information in one place, and then the government's trying to charge someone in another place for the exact same information. These are taxpayers. They own the government. They own the government. We don't own the government. They own the government. And the notion that depending on where you're lucky enough to click is going to decide whether or not you pay for something is wrong. It's just flat wrong. And we've got to stop it.
And that's why, ma'am, we're implementing the Public Access NTRL program, which
Why can't you put up there tomorrow, you can probably get this for free? Chances are 50-50 you can get this for free.
It's on the internet. Very clear. We will go back, ma'am, and take a look at it. I will guarantee you that it will be much larger by the end of this week.
Are your reports going to be free beginning in October?
Yeah, the reports that we have, electronic reports and the associated metadata with all 2.8 million records within our collection will be available free to the public.
Why can't you make it free tomorrow?
Because we have to put in place the infrastructure to be able to do that.
Well, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is just link over to the website where it's located.
That's very difficult to do. We tried to do that 10 years ago by having persistent US URLs that attempted to link to all these documents that were available. Just like USA Gov and other Science.gov and other agencies have attempted to do that. However, every time an agency takes a report down, moves it, we lose that URL link. It was very upsetting. It was very demanding for us to do that. It was very upsetting to customers when they came on the site, and there was no effective automated way to do it at that time.
They're customers, sir, but they're taxpayers. So I think looking at them as customers is part of the problem here. They're taxpayers. They're entitled to the government's information for free.
I look at them as taxpayers, ma'am. I am a taxpayer, and I understand that.
Okay. Department of Commerce, you are part of the Department of Commerce?
That's correct, ma'am.
And how much did you charge the Department of Commerce last year for information that you hold?
I do not know if we charge the Department of Commerce for information that we hold or that we charge the Department of Commerce for services. I believe last year we provide services to the Department of Commerce for about $2.6 million.
Well, here's what we believe, and I need you to correct the record. It's been difficult for us, it's not transparent. Whether you're a middleman, whether you're just hooking people up with private contractors and just charging a middleman fee, that's what it looks like.
I will be happy, ma'am, and we're here today to discuss it, and we'll be happy to come to you and with your staff committees in order to show a full accounting of NTIS and how we operate.
I have a document here that indicates that in 2013 you charged the Commerce Department $288,000 for access to your technical reports library. Do you think that's what Congress intended when they wanted you to be self-sufficient, that you would charge the agency where you are located $300,000 a year to access the information that you hold?
Ma'am, I believe that's not true. We'll have to come back with you. I do not believe we do not charge the Department of Commerce access to NTRL.
Well, it's circled Technical Reports Library, and under it says Department of Commerce, $288,000. And this is your document.
Then the document, I believe the document is in error, but we will go back and certainly check.
Okay. Doctor, we got the document from you.
I'm not disputing that, ma'am.
Okay. Dr. Coburn.
Well, thank you for coming and testifying. I have a lot of questions. First for Ms. Melvin, how long has GAO been reporting on this?
Our earliest report was in 2000.
Okay. So 14 years.
Yes, we reported again in 2001 and then in 2013.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Borzino, what percentage and how many of your 2.4 million reports have never been requested?
That I don't have that information, Senator. We'll have to get back with you.
Okay. GL, Ms. Melvin, have you all ever charged for your reports?
Our reports are available online for free, the electronic versions.
Yeah.
There are instances where we have reports that we do deliver, and we charge the normal cost of recovery in terms of shipping and handling and printing, but not for any revenue.
But all your reports are available online?
Yes.
All right. You can't think of a good reason, since your reports are all online, why NTIS would charge for your reports, can you?
No, we do have a concern about them charging for reports. We do not believe that the federal government and NTIS in particular should be charging for the reports that can be obtained online for free.
Yeah. One of the things I've tried to do with Senator McCaskill is eliminate duplication. And what I'm struck by as I read the financial performance 2009 through 2013 is how much of the services revenue has grown outside of the actual charge for this agency. We're now up through June 30th of this year to about almost 85% of the revenues outside of the original charge. It's in services. The interesting thing, and I think this should be put in the record, it comes from NTIS, and I'd ask unanimous consent to put it in the record. It's a chart that shows what they've done since 2009 to June 30th of 2014. Here's the point I would make, is the vast majority of the revenue comes from things that are outside their charge, which means government programs never die, they just morph into something else. But their services revenue in 2009 was $14 million. Through 9 months of this year, it's $71 million. But the interesting thing to me is their costs in 2009 were $27 million, and through 9 months of this year, they're $78 million. So their costs have gone up. They've tripled in the last 5 years. And most of that cost, I assume, is associated with the services, not with being a repository for the federal government. So the question really comes is, and you're not making significant more amounts of money than you have over past years. In other words, your goal isn't to make money, your goal is to cover your revenue, I would presume, cover your costs. How do you explain that? How do you explain all this additional services business that you've gotten into that is obviously offered by other people? How is it that you've done that?
First of all, Senator, we are authorized to provide these services. We are an OPM shared service provider for e-learning and for knowledge management in one area. Is there nobody in the private sector that does any of this other stuff that you offer? We partner with over 50 private sector. That wasn't the question I asked you. Is there not anybody in the private sector that has the capability to do what you do? In some of these areas, no. In some, they're not. But in the vast majority, there's a private sector business that you're actually competing with. No, we are not competing with the private sector. We are complementing the private sector. We are not competing with them. Well, you're generating $78 million worth of revenue. And out of that, well, let's take last year's revenue, Senator, of the $75 million that we had. Approximately $50 million of that revenue went back to joint service partners and to contractors supporting us. $50 million worth of that revenue approximately was returned to the American economy because we had those 103 or 9 projects that we performed last year for other federal agencies. We provide services to other federal agencies. We are not a GSA or what when I was in industry called a body shop. We just don't provide contracts to them. We bring together the parties both on the federal side and also from the private sector in order to provide a cost-effective solution to meet the needs of the federal agency. If we were not providing that cost-effective solution, the years that you talked about are sequestration years. They are years when discretionary funds are very tight in all federal agencies. But yet we are providing.
2009 was not a sequestration.
11, 12, and 13, Senator, were.
Yeah.
And that is where our major growth is. In 2009, the major growth was because the Department of Education had a distribution program for its federal student aid products, and they decided after 9 years that they were paying a private contractor too much. They opened it up for competition. We applied. They selected us to do that service. From the time we began that service in fiscal year 2010 to today, we've lowered the annual cost for that program more than 40%, or $4 million per year as of today.
Okay.
Now, these services that you're talking about, and you also, Madam Chair, are clear services that are recognized and authorized by the National Technical Information Act of 1988 and the American Preeminence Act of 1999. We don't do anything that's not authorized by within our programmatic and statutory authorities.
All right.
They're all involved in providing information management support to other agencies. We have 2 levels of legal review even after I make the ultimate decision that we might go in and do a project. It goes to NIST, and their legal department looks at it from a programmatic review. It then goes to the department, to the General Law Division, and they look at it from the statutory review. And if they come back and say it's not within our statute, then the work does not get done.
All right. So I have some other questions for you.
And I would just like to clarify.
Let me ask my questions because I have limited time. What percentage of the 30,000 add-ons in this last year are available on the web?
The 30,000.
You testified just earlier that you added 30,000 pieces of unique information this past year. That was in your testimony. And my question to you, of the 30,000 additions, how many of them are available on the web?
That I don't know, Senator, because they may be all available because they're probably most electronic today.
Okay.
Now, they may not come from this fiscal year. They probably came from previous fiscal years. But yes, I would grant that they're probably all available on the web, and that's why we're moving to the public access NTRL program.
So that raises my next question. Why in the world are you all, if you're good at what you do, why are you 10 years behind everybody else in this country moving stuff to the web? You got this big plan that you're going to introduce, you're going to put on, you're going to develop. Why wasn't it developed 10 years ago?
Because we did not have the resources to do it 10 years ago. Because we had to put in place, we had to go from our, in 2007, 2008, 2009, where we lost terrible amounts of money because we were printing based and paper based and microfiche distribution, to get to the point today where we are able to have this capability of doing it through the National Technical Reports Library in 2009, our Federal Repository Services, and if I can go back to an earlier statement, the reason why the past couple of years, we don't have a lot of profit that shows is because in the past 2 years, we've made almost a $4 million investment in our infrastructure. So last year, we put $1.7 million into the infrastructure. This year, we've put $1.3 million in the infrastructure, and that's taken the profit down, which in, I believe, fiscal year 11 and 12 was about $2 to $3 million each year, down to where we are this year. That's the investment we're making in order to continue to provide the mission that you have provided to us, a mission of which yes, we agree, we cannot cover the cost to do the repository mission. Yet NTIS still goes ahead and does the mission. And we also provide very good federal services that are desperately needed and desired by these other federal agencies, not skirting contract or procurement law, because we do hundreds of contracts a year.
Okay. I'll come back for a second round.
Ma'am, could I clear up? We have an answer to your question.
Absolutely.
That is called the Iraqi Science and Technology Information Repository, which is a joint program between the Department of State, the Department of Commerce, and NTIS as the partner, along with a private partner in Tennessee. The purpose of that program was to provide the Iraqi government a repository service that they could use to have their central repository, which they don't have currently, within the Ministry of Science and Technology. That is what the $288,000 of charges were for. So it was that service project, of which I just received an announcement this morning. Next week, I believe, at the Iraqi embassy, it's going to be unveiled, if you will.
Okay, let's get back to a couple of questions. On the NTIS website, you advertise a bunch of services from shipping and fulfillment to government web and system hosting. For example, some of the language on your web team is, we can create your order processing website or link to your existing site to provide your clients with the ability to order your publications and outreach materials online. Now, is this being directed to government?
Well, we provide a number of agencies out of our...
No, when you say provide your clients, are you saying this is you're advertising to government agencies that you will do this for them? You're not advertising to the private sector.
That page is, yes, where the service pages are for the federal agencies to know about how the services that we can provide for them. That is correct.
Okay, so the services that government provides, it's weird to call taxpayers clients. That implies a paying relationship. We can create your order processing website or link you to your existing site to provide your clients the ability to order your publications and outreach materials online. Plus, our customer service team supports your customers' calls and inquiries on the phone or via email, which is just pure answering the phone for government agencies.
No, it's not, ma'am. It's, well, first of all, that's your
Plus,
right.
our customer, let me read it again. This is what your website says. Plus, our customer service team supports your customers' calls, those are taxpayers calling into the government, and inquiries on the phone or via email. So it appears you're selling customer service to other agencies, correct?
No, the customer service that we provide, if we provide it, first of all, we do have a customer service center, and that's to support NTIS and the repository functions.
Right.
Let's take an example of what, first of all, that's poor choice of words, and I agree. It should be American taxpayer, it should be something, but it shouldn't say client. You're absolutely right there. But let's take the education department. The education department is a distribution program that we do for the federal student aid program for them and for all their distribution across their 28 offices. We provide that entire service to them from the point of the matter of putting up the website, which is branded for the Department of Education, to the point that the public comes in and orders it. If the public wants to discuss a publication, they call an NTIS call center, which is located in the facility that provides the service, our warehouse in Brandywine, Maryland. And we then take the order. We provide the entire service for the Department of Education.
Okay. That's the point I wanted to make. So how much of these services that you're providing, like shipping and fulfillment and distribution, how much of that are you providing and how much are you the go-between with a private contractor?
The services, I'd have to get back to you in each case, but for example,
I need a ballpark percentage. Mr. You have to know what percentage. You know you're bringing $75 million in a year on this type of stuff. Of that $75 million you brought in last year, how much of that is a fee you're getting for connecting a government agency with a private contractor?
No, we don't connect them, ma'am. We are the program managers. We provide, for example, the distribution program that I talked about for education, pretty much all the distribution programs that we have in the list there, Department of Education, PBGC, the other information I gave when I briefed your staff, that's all done by NTIS with contractor support as part of NTIS.
Okay, well, that's what I'm trying to get at. I want to get at the contractor support.
No partnership.
Here's what I can't figure out. I mean, I'm sorry I sound so impatient, but I spent a lot of time on federal acquisition regulations. Dr. Coburn and I have worked on a lot of hearings where there aren't very many people in the audience, talking about federal acquisition regulations and what is good about them and what is bad about them and reforming them. GSA offers most of the services that you offer, agreed?
GSA offers contracting services, of which when I was in the private sector I used.
Right.
They do not offer the services that we talk about.
We can't find any IT services you offer that GSA doesn't offer. They offer web hosting. They offer fulfillment. They offer all of those things. What IT services are you providing?
They only provide the contract vehicle, ma'am, to get to a contract or a vendor who can provide those services. We provide a partnership with the agency. That's the unique thing. It's a joint service partnership. That's what the law says. It says we provide this partnership. We provide this joint venture partnership. We provide these unique solutions. We go to the Department of Agriculture right now, and they wanted a system, a talent management, a knowledge management system that they could put across all 28 or 29 bureaus. They had a vendor-provided system, but it was just a learning management system. It didn't meet the needs for what they want. Now, if you wanted to do that through GSA, you would have to scope out this whole program. You would have to have all your requirements definitized.
Yeah.
Under the partnership program that we have, we work with the partner to best find the solution. It's more flexible.
And you're more expensive than GSA.
No, we're not. Because,
yes, you are.
We only charge for the services that we provide. GSA provides, yes, we charge a fee on our labor that you're probably referring to, that's 10%. That's the fee. That's the only fee we charge. GSA provides a fee, depending on the contract size, I believe, or at least when I used them 10 years ago, between 2 to 4%, and all they do is provide you that contracting service. We provide you the program management. We are in the game.
Okay, but you don't have to go through FAR.
We follow the legal, we follow the joint venture rule, we follow all statutes and law within the United States government. When we contract, we follow the FAR. No,
you are setting up your own contracting vehicle outside of the federal acquisition regulations, yes or no?
No, it's not a contracting vehicle, ma'am. It's a joint venture partnership.
Okay,
it's authorized underneath both.
You are managing a contract that the services are being provided by a private vendor.
We're managing a program, a joint venture. It's a public-private partnership.
What percentage of the labor, of the $75 million you spent, that you got in revenue last year, the labor that was provided, the services that were provided for that $75 million, what percentage of those services did you, in fact, perform? How many employees do you have?
We have 101 employees.
Okay, you can't sit there and tell me that 101 people are providing all of these services on shipping and fulfillment and answering the phone and providing documents. You, in fact, are connecting federal agencies with private vendors and not using the FAR.
That is what GSA does, ma'am. What we do is we provide the detailed program management and support if that's all we're doing in that particular program. In many of those programs, we provide much more than that, including the web hosting, the other services that we have within our capabilities. Yet that is the greatness, if you will, the advantage of using this public partner capability that we were granted by Congress. And in 1989, when we were granted that, we put it in the public register how we were going to do it, and we follow it to this day.
I think I've got common sense, and I think I understand what is going on here. And if it is as opaque as it appears to be, that just means we need to do more work. I need to see all these service contracts. I need to understand the scope of what you're performing, and I need to figure out how 101 people can do it. Because it looks like this is a workaround the FAR, plain and simple. Well, and that agencies are flocking to you even though 10% is higher than what they're getting charged at GSA because they can avoid the FAR.
That's 10% on the labor that we provide. That's the only fee that we normally charge.
But you can't tell me what percentage of the labor you provide.
I have to go back and look at the individual programs that we have.
What percentage of your total costs are labor costs?
Approximately this year about $10 million just for federal labor cost.
And you have how many contractors?
And we have equivalent of about 75 contractors.
And what percentage of that is labor cost?
I do not. I'm not. I think it's around $5 to $6 million, but I'm not sure. It may be a little bit higher than that.
So on these numbers that you've got for us in 2013, less than 25% of your costs are labor costs of the $64 million.
I'd have to go back and look at that, Senator.
I'd like for you to answer that for the record, if you would.
As I mentioned, Senator, the $50 million is what I do know that came out of the cost that we distributed. So,
yeah. Of the $75 million that you're going to have this year in terms of services, what percentage of this year will be paid by federal agencies?
all the service revenue comes from federal.
All right. And what percentage of the revenue?
I would take that, yes, all the federal services revenue that we define that way, yes, comes from other federal agencies.
All your services revenue comes from federal agencies. Is that your testimony? All your services revenue comes from federal agencies.
Last year, I know the service revenue was $64 million.
That's not my question. All your service revenue comes from federal agencies. Is that true or not true?
I believe it is true.
Okay. What percentage of your service revenues come from the Department of Education? How big is this student loan program?
Senator, I don't have that information in front of me.
Somebody in your staff knows that answer.
Well, we gave it to you, Senator, because we broke out in the information that we gave to you, or the department delivered to you a couple of weeks ago, had it broken out. And also in the information that was given yesterday to the subcommittee, it was all detailed and broken out for the last at least the last 3 fiscal years. We're very transparent. Please come down and look at what we're doing. We're not hiding anything.
Well, for 2013, it shows that you billed Department of Education, let's see, I had it here a second ago, $328,000. Is that right?
It can't be for services, Senator, because the education distribution program alone is about $5.5 million.
All right. So what you sent us in terms of your total, this was the nature of federal agency services provided in 2013. I think this is your sheet. That shows the Department of Education. And then in answer to our questions, the latest fiscal year available, the name of each federal agency and how much they spent. So 10% of your revenue is coming from the Department of Education, correct? And 20% of your, what, $6,323,000. And the Department of Agriculture, $14 million. Department of Justice, $4 million. Office of the Secretary of Defense and Defense Agencies, $12 million, and Social Security Administration, $10 million. I suppose that's the Death Master File for Social Security?
No, that would not be the Death Master File. That's the SSA, primarily SSA Special Notice option. We actually pay SSA in order to get the Death Master File from them. We pay them a fee in order to get that.
They give you the Death Master File?
They don't give it to us. We pay them a fee, yes, even though we distribute it for them.
It's interesting. We can't get them to give the Death Master File to other agencies so we can be accurate on what we're doing in other agencies, yet you're buying it from them?
It's a weird relationship. However, yes, for the last 24 years, I don't know if we bought it from them all the time, but yes, we do provide them. I believe that's correct. Can you confirm that? Yes, we do provide them a fee.
Can you and get the Death Master File?
It's a preparation of what they do in order to deliver it to us.
Okay.
So in the raw data that we then distribute to other agencies.
Can another agency come to you and get the Death Master File?
Other agencies do come to us and get the Death Master File.
All of them? Is there any agency of the federal government you won't give the Death Master File to?
No. Well, let me clarify that. I know that there's some agencies, there's 5 or 6 of them that get it directly from
I know,
SSA.
but is there any federal agency that cannot get the Death Master File from you?
I want to be clear to answer your question. The agencies do get it from us, correct? They pay a fee to do it. So we don't distribute it for free.
Okay, but the question I'm asking,
yes,
is there any agency that cannot come to you and pay a fee and get the Death Master File?
We'd be happy to make it available for every federal agency.
Okay. And what do you pay for that death master file?
It depends whether it's a raw data file or it's...
Well, give it to, I don't care.
I don't...
Somebody knows. What do you pay?
We'll get back to you on that, Senator.
Okay. How much revenue will you lose starting in September when you don't charge for reports that are available electronically?
We are definitely at a risk of some revenue, but the basis of the model which we're going to is we're going to a model, if you will, like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, where you have a section which is available for free, and then you have other services which are available for subscription.
But I thought your testimony was is the things that are online and available.
They will be.
So you have no idea how much revenue you're going to lose off that? You got $7,688,000 already this year off of reports, product revenue. What percentage is that going to decline?
We're still working on the business numbers, if you will, Senator.
So you've made the decision to do that, even though you don't know the business numbers associated with it?
We have some cost associated with it. Unfortunately, the associate director manages this program has been out the last 5 weeks because of sciatic nerve program, and he just came back.
Okay.
So
yes, you'll get
but
that.
we are at risk if this model does not work of losing some additional money within the technical products line. However, we feel it's very important. You have spoken, okay? We have heard. We have heard that there is that you would prefer us to make things available for free, and we are responding to that. We started 5 years ago moving in that direction, and we've come to this point, and I will tell you, and I can show you in the minutes, that we started with our advisory board more than 15 months ago to look at this, based on the administration's open access, open data plans, wanting to make more available. We still got the GAO report.
Actually, you haven't heard from us because our goal is to eliminate you as an agency. That's our goal. And what can't be found available somewhere else, put it in a small closet in the Department of Commerce.
I would think,
and that's my goal, because I took 3 interns and asked you for your top 20 requests, and we found all but 4 of them, which were manuals, federal government manuals, available in the online within 30 minutes. So the fact is 80%, 75 to 80% of everything that you supply in terms of reports or products is available online today. And your biggest costs have nothing to do with supplying that. Your biggest costs have to do with all these other programs that you're running in conjunction with contractors outside of the FAR regulations that we see as very important. Our biggest problem in the federal government is acquisition. This lady has been a dog on that, and it is a mess. And what we're saying, my message to you isn't about offering it for free. My message is, how do we shrink the size of the federal government so that the kids that are following us will have a standard of living equivalent to the average pay of your organization, which they're not anywhere close?
well, Governor, can I respond, please, Senator?
Sure.
Our doctor, if you look last year, we provided 103 or 109 service projects to the 39 agencies and departments that I talked about. You're implying that they didn't get anything of value out of
No, I'm saying they could have done it another way inside the federal acquisition regulations and got it done.
In some of those cases, they may not have, because they would not have been able to come up with the unique partnership and the methodology that we have put in place. Public-private partnership. It's a sharing. It's a sharing on both sides.
You're telling me that other agencies can't do public-private sharing and partnerships? They do it all the time.
Well, I don't know that they do it all the time.
Well, we do. We have hearings here all the time where we see the federal government contracting with private to do private-public partnerships to accomplish goals for the federal government. So it's not, you may have some unique areas associated with the data that you have. The most amazing thing coming out of this, the hearing today, is they have the death master file and 4 agencies in the federal government can't get it from the IRS.
Well, we'll be happy to provide it, Senator.
I yield.
We do everything, Senator, if I can close, in the fact that we're not skirting acquisition regulations. We're not trying to put a process that does that.
I don't think...
We're trying to provide a service within our capabilities.
I think you are.
It so happens we're doing a good job in the last 5 years that more and more agencies want to come to us. And they come to us during times of sequestration and times of reduced budget. And we're offering them that capability in a different manner because, as you know, and I was an acquisition officer. That was part of my responsibilities. I was in the acquisition corps in the Army, and that's what I did. So for the last 10 years of my career, I was in research and development, information systems, and I understand the acquisition community both as a user in DOD and also in the private industry because, as I mentioned before, I used the GSA acquisition vehicles in order to do business. I understand that. I'm telling you that it is not the same. I'd be happy to sit down and explain to you how we do it and make it very transparent that we're not skirting acquisition rules. Maybe we have a new model that you might want to consider.
That may be true. And this is not personal. This is about duplication. This is about charging taxpayers for information they can get for free. And this is about one part of government not having to live by the same rules that another part of government has to live by. It's just that simple. And no one is ascribing evil motives here. I'm sure that you are a fine American, and everyone who works with you and works in that agency, all 101 of them, and probably even the contractors that all work there, are great, because I think there's some great contractors out there. This is about whether or not this is the way we should be doing business. And let me ask you this, that you've referred to your statutory mission. Your statutory mission was very clear that it's supposed to be a clearinghouse of scientific, technical, and engineering reports. That was Harry Truman's idea, that the scientific information that we had developed through an enormous sacrifice by the American people through the war would be able to be translated into commerce. Great idea. Do you think Harry Truman envisioned that you would be offering the Air Force recipe cookbook as part of that?
The Air Force recipe cookbook was offered because at a time when DOD did not have the capabilities of making it available and there was a demand for it by the restaurant and services industry.
I don't know which is more scary to me.
So in any event, we did it at that point. Under this new program, it will now be available free.
Did you just say the Department of Defense didn't have the capability of providing a cookbook?
Department of Defense, as you know, through DTIC, didn't normally provide their publications to the public. You had to be either a military member, a .mil address, and this is anecdotal because, you know, I was there, so it may not be true today. My staff tells me that we were asked specifically at one point by the Department of Defense to make that available because it allows restaurateurs and others to do large recipes. And
well,
that's why it's available.
Who
That's
decides?
Why we have it. However, now under the current program, since it's electronic, it'll be made available free. Yeah,
right.
You can look at the 2.8 million documents that we have in the collection. Certainly, Senator, there's a number that you would say don't meet today's requirement of science and technical. I do not doubt that.
Well, but that's your mission. How did you get off your mission?
We're going back to make sure that those things, first of all, we've ensured that what we bring into the collection now firmly meets the scientific, technical.
Who's making that decision?
My staff here is making that decision by ensuring that the catalogers and indexers who go out and bring things in follow specific guidelines that we've had in place, but maybe have not been followed at all time.
Have you included reports acquired from private sector organizations?
Private sector. Excuse me?
American Library Special Library.
Okay, American Library Special Library Association, I guess. Cataloging and indexing.
Okay, that is also not within your mission, correct?
Science and technology.
My staff is telling me it's in science and technology.
Okay, I didn't realize that this was supposed to be a repository for private documents. I thought this was just supposed to be government documents.
The standards, library standards.
I have to get back with you.
Okay. That would be great if you would.
I'm not sure, Senator, if you could pose that question. I'm not sure exactly what the question is.
Well, the question is whether or not you all are out harvesting documents in the private sector in addition to harvesting documents from the public sector. And if so, where did you get the authority to do that as part of this agency?
No, we're not doing that.
Okay. I need a definitive answer about what, if any, private entities you are, in fact, archiving or keeping repository of private documents, and how that came about.
None that I'm aware of, ma'am. Okay. If we've harvested by mistake a private industry or a private sector document, then that is incorrect. Then we should not be doing that. Do we do it as a service for anybody else, or in order to try to add things to the collection outside what we're supposed to be doing by statute? No.
You know, part of me is proud in a way because you all have shown a private sector mentality. I think somebody sat and figured out that there was going to be dwindling revenue to support a government agency from the original mission that was designed because of a change in technology. The very technology that drove the entire purpose of your organization was going to make you obsolete. So in order to sustain the existence of your agency, you had to find a new source of revenue. And in order to find a new source of revenue, you had to figure out a way that you would bring in money for providing other services besides documents that people can get for free. And so to do that, you have used the euphemism, a public-private partnership, when in reality, with a staff the size of your staff and a budget the size of your budget, that is facilitating federal contracting. Whether you want to call it that or not, you all are not doing the work. You can't do the work with 101 people. You're contracting with private industries, and you call it a public-private partnership. At GSA, they call it FAR. They call it acquisition. You call it a public-private partnership. And what I need you to do, for the record, is I need you to give me examples of some services you are providing federal agencies that they can get nowhere else. Not your, well, it's a public-private partnership because somehow, because you guys are acquiring the private entity that's doing the work, that makes it a public-private partnership. When GSA acquires the private entity that's doing the work, you're calling that just straight acquisition. To me, a duck is a duck is a duck. It's walking like a duck, it's quacking like a duck. I think it's a duck. And therefore, I need you to explain in very transparent terms what are the services you're providing that a federal agency can get nowhere else. Because I think that's your only shot of holding on to this agency long term. Because more and more people that are getting elected are realizing we can't continue to have payrolls without a purpose. We just can't do it. And especially since your customers are in fact the taxpayers. The ones who are paying you, the agencies, that's all taxpayer money. The people who are buying reports from you, those are all taxpayers. So it's almost like it's this weird agency that is getting money from the public on one end and getting money from the public on the other end and pretending that somehow you all are providing a model that is the ultimate efficiency.
May I respond?
Yes,
yeah.
You may.
Okay. First of all, we're authorized to enter into these private sector partnerships by law. So Congress passed a law, the National Technical Information Act of 1988, as well as the American Technology Preeminence Act of 1991. Yes, there is a base statutory that GAO referred to, I guess, 81-799, whatever it is, from 1950 that authorized the Secretary of Commerce to establish a clearinghouse. In 1988 and 1991, and by other changes to the law, you authorized us to enter into joint service partnerships. These joint service partnerships were to provide innovative information solutions to other public agencies, to come up with these solutions and then to provide them to other public agencies. We started doing that in 1989, and we have a history since then of the past 25 years. We provided FedWorld, which was one of the first websites of the federal government in the early 1990s. We provided the IRS tax site for the first IRS tax site in the middle 1990s. In the late 1990s, we developed with a joint partner, we developed the Department of Defense Defense Acquisition University First Learning Management System. For that reason, is why in 2004, OPM came to us and designated us an e-training learning knowledge management service partner.
So here's the question that follows up on that. Could none of those have been done without your agency being in existence? That's the question we're asking. They all would have happened through regular acquisition process.
Can I give you another example since the Senator asked, the Chair asked? Specifically, I'd like to give you an example of the Social Security SNOW program, the Special Notice Option Program. This was a program which was mandated to SSA by court order in San Francisco, I believe, that they were to provide all their notices that they had been providing to sight-impaired individuals, just printed, and then you could call up and they would read it to you. The court said that that's not good enough. You need to provide them in different formats such as Braille, 508 compliant CDs, large print, and audio.
Well, there's no reason another federal agency can't provide that. There's no reason that...
No, a federal agency doesn't have the capability because it requires the Braille. It requires the audio to be able to do that. It requires these expertise.
Well, the GSA could have contracted for that.
We have had two partners that were that happened to be small disadvantaged business owned by blind gentlemen who were doing scanning and digitalization.
But wouldn't have they done business with the GSA, Mr. Porzino? Why wouldn't have they done business with the GSA? Why couldn't have they, through the federal acquisition regulations and acquisition processes, they would have put out a contract? By the way, this is what they do at the Department of Defense. This is what they do in Homeland Security. They put out a scoped contract. We need somebody to provide Braille information. We need somebody to answer phones. We need somebody to provide. This is the point. The point is not that you're not doing good work. No one is here to malign you in terms of the work you're doing. This is about duplication, about a drifting mission that went from providing reports that weren't easily available to realizing that now these are easily available. We're going to have to start web hosting, or we're going to have to start shipping, or we're going to have to get into big wholesale printing operations, most of which you're contracting.
Ma'am,
that's the point.
No, I'd like to clarify the point that we just didn't start this 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I gave you examples, and we can show you, I think, breaking out the revenue to show you that we've been providing these services since as early as 1989.
But it's increased 69% since 2009.
Principally because of some large programs that came in, such as the Department of Education, at that point, about $9 million. The SSA SNOW program comes in. It's been floating somewhere between $9 and $12 million. Yes, there were some large projects that came in that certainly increased the revenue. But also, we went from about maybe 20 projects to 30 projects up to over 100 projects.
Well, the one thing we're going to do is we're going to drill down on those large projects. And we're going to look at the contracting process. We're going to look and see if FAR was complied with. We're going to look and see who those contractors are and if they're doing business, doing the same thing in other agencies, and if the price that's being paid is the same. Because I'm willing to bet, before it's all the dust settles, that there is an upcharge to avoid the FAR. And I'm willing to bet the federal agencies realize they can avoid the upcharge for avoiding the FAR by using your agency. That doesn't make you bad guys. That makes you providing a service outside of the federal acquisition regulations. Now, I might be wrong about that, but we're going to drill down and figure it out. We're going to look at the large contracts you have and the services you're providing and the private contractors that are providing those services, and we're going to drill down on the costs, and I guarantee you those services are being provided somewhere else in government, very similar, and we're going to look at the costs there, and we're going to try to figure out apples to apples why it is better that you are doing this rather than GSA. And if, in fact, your model is better, if all the contracting procedures are being followed, if, in fact, you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's and scoping your contract, if you're doing performance measurements on your contractors, if you are not giving them bonuses when they don't deserve it, if you are doing things better than GSA, then I'm all for you guys taking over the whole kit and caboodle. I got no problem with that. I got no problem with blowing you up big time and shutting down GSA, but we can't have two because it's not fair. And frankly, it's not transparent. And that's the problem. So I want the people who work for you to know we're not after you because you're bad guys. We're after you because this is not a good way to run a government. It is duplicative, it is not transparent, and it's not clear why your mission has drifted to the extent it has and why it's necessary that it has. That's the bottom line.
Just want to get on the record GAO's recommendations and what they think they should be done.
We had issued a suggestion to Congress to revisit the model for the fee-based system. We continue to believe that looking at that model and reassessing whether it is the right way, the appropriate and viable approach to handling and having NTIS do its business is necessary. So we stand by that recommendation, that matter for consideration.
I'm through too. I want to thank you. I know this has not been fun, but this is called oversight. And it is us trying to get to the bottom of something that's really, I mean, between Dr. Coburn's staff and my staff, we're pretty good at getting in the weeds, and it's harder at your place to get into the weeds. And that's why we want to understand it better, and we will continue to be asking questions. The record will remain open. We'll specifically start asking some questions about those large contracts and whether or not your agency is the right place for them to be positioned. And we want to thank GAO for your continuing great work.
I have one other thing. I'm going to put these questions to the record, but I want to read them into the record. These are constituents that have questions. One is from Pete. The federal government penalizes contractors when audits show unfair pricing. Why shouldn't the NTIS be held to the same standard? And especially on pricing of a lot of this product. What is NTIS's most requested report, and how much does it sell for, and how many times has it been requested? Who are NTIS's customers? Who's ordering and paying for report? Which agencies? You gave us that information, provided service. Here's the one that gets me, and I think that started all this. How can we pay with our taxes for another department for something that's free online? That's the real bug that gets the American taxpayer. And where's the money go? Well, I think you've answered part of that. But the vast majority of your revenues are going to decline on actually selling of reports. And so you're going to be more impaired to go do more of the services that you'll need to do to run your organization. So I thank you for being here, and we will submit these questions for the record.
Thank you very much.